Many children of undocumented immigrants aren't able to go to college because they themselves are undocumented. These children came to the U.S. when they were young. The DREAM Act would give these children a chance to go to college themselves with temporary citizenship. Let's take a look at some statistics on these children. About 20% of undocumented immigrants are under the age of 18, but not by choice. Three million teens will graduate high school this year. 1 in 42 students won't have a secondary education because of legal status. And now here's the clip of President Obama giving his thoughts on the DREAM Act.
Effective immediately, the Department of Homeland Security is taking steps to lift the shadow of deportation from these young people. Over the next few months, eligible individuals who do not present a risk to national security or public safety will be able to request temporary relief from deportation proceedings and apply for work authorization.
Ray Daniel has more.
Thank you, Balbina. Dr. Robert Albro is with us to talk a little bit about the DREAM Act. He's an associate research professor for the Center for Latin American and Latino Studies at American University. Dr. Albro, thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. If you could just tell us a little bit about your thoughts on what President Obama just said and your thoughts about the DREAM Act on whether or not it is needed.
Well, so the DREAM Act supposes that it would be a good idea for our immigration policy to change in ways that discriminate within and among different categories of immigrants to the United States. And so the idea that young people who were brought here and have lived the vast majority of their lives here, who have participated in our system of public education here, should have and would be beneficial to the United States for them to have access to higher education. So the DREAM Act presents an opportunity for immigrant, undocumented people of Latin American descent to potentially take that next step.
That's great. And you know, hearing the statistic that only 1 in 42 children or students actually will be able to go on to, you know, secondary education because of that, because of their legal status. Sorry, I apologize. 1 in 42 students will not be able to go on to secondary education because of their legal status. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, so it just suggests that the number of undocumented young people in the United States is large. It's a significant demographic. It is a major social and public policy question. And we are pouring, as a country, public resources at the state and federal level into our public system of education, which is supporting young people. And many of those young people, as undocumented, are receiving that support, and yet at a certain point we then cut that off. And so there's a kind of disconnect between how we're understanding participation in public education and how we're treating undocumented folks when they get to the next level, to the higher education.
And there's a lot of debate back and forth from both parties saying, you know, there's been people waiting for years to get their citizenship. And so what is your thought on saying, for these people that do have a little bit of pushback, saying, well, there's these people that are trying to do it the traditional way. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, so the United States has always made a variety of choices about how it admits people and extends immigrant status, legal immigrant status. And so sometimes we describe these as quota systems that we maintain with other countries. These have not been the same over time. Right. We regularly change our policies around how we admit immigrants, who we want to admit, how we prioritize that. For some years, we've emphasized fast-track immigration status for people who are understood to be to bring critical skills in industry or higher education from different parts of the world. And this is kind of no different from that. In other words, it's recognizing a particular category of person who, for a variety of reasons, occupies a niche and distinguishing them from other categories of folks, particularly because of the potential benefit they can provide their host country.
That's great. Dr. Albero, thank you so much for joining us today. Coming up next on District Talk, Maryland and Washington, D.C. are making strides in decriminalizing marijuana. Find out why this piece of legislation will benefit minorities in the community.